It is Thursday, December 23rd. Yeah, 2021. Merry Christmas. I will have another podcast for you tomorrow, probably a shorter one on Christmas Eve. I know lots of people going on vacation and traveling and so on, and that's great. I hope you spend time with your families. I hope you spend time away from the internet, time in nature. Go chop some wood for the fireplace or something. You'll get your sanity back because, of course, the world is pretty crazy. Of course, we have a lot of breaking news today, and some things extending from yesterday's podcast. Uh, I was I was working on my write up of the story from yesterday. You know, Dr. Charles Lieber, that whole story, which continues to be one of the biggest underreported bombshells in the world right now. And he says, "Hey, Alex is inviting you to come on at 1 o'clock and do his show about this Charles Lieber story." So I said, "Yeah, I can do it." So I went on with Alex at 1 o'clock. 30 minutes into the show with Alex, his other host, Owen Schroyer, who's listening to the interview with Alex, Owen Schroyer says, "Hey, I got to have Mike Adams on my show," which is he said 4 o'clock. So he said, "Can you come on at 4 o'clock?" And you know, Owen's a great guy. I really like Owen. He does incredible reporting, and he's fighting hard for America and humanity. So I said, "Yeah, I absolutely, Owen. I can't say no to you, man. I'll come on your show and we'll go over all this." And so I finish up with the show with Alex. He holds me over. We do almost an hour and a half. I try to finish up my story. By the time I get that posted, I got to go on with Owen. And then I get a text from Brandon House over at Worldview Report. And Brandon's like, "Hey, everything's blowing up. You got to come on our show tonight at 8 o'clock." And I said, "Tonight?" And Brandon said, "Yeah, tonight at 8 o'clock. We'll call you on Skype and we'll do the show." And I said, "Okay, Brandon. Uh, Brandon, I love what you're doing, man. I love you're doing great news. You got great guests. How can I say no?" So I'll definitely come on at 8 o'clock and do your show. So I jump on at 8 o'clock and do the Brandon Howes show, and we have a great conversation. And then I feel pretty exhausted at that point, and I start doing research for this podcast. And then a couple hours later here now recording this podcast to grant the Biden regime the power to control your body while the lawsuits continue. But this is not, whatever decision they make after January 7th, this is not the final decision. This is just a decision about the temporary state of things while the lawsuit's taking place. Now, it's still very important, though, because this is going to tell us how the Supreme Court justices will land on the overall issue. If they can compel you, then they own you. Because if you don't control your body, then you don't own it. Control is a condition of ownership, right? If you own something, it means you control it. If you don't control it, you don't own it. So if you don't control your body, you don't own your body. The government owns it. If they make that decision, I predict America will erupt. We will have, if they make that decision, we will have confirmation that the Supreme Court, well, what's the right way to say this? That they have abandoned both the spirit and the letter of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Because if you don't own your body, then you wouldn't have any First Amendment right, the right to speak, the right to protest, the right to religious expression, the right to freedom of the press, and so on. You would not have those rights if you don't own your body, would you? Or even, Fourth Amendment rights, Fifth Amendment rights, Second Amendment, you name it, due process. How could you have any of these rights if you don't own your body? So the Supreme Court says, in summary, if they say you don't own your body, they are nullifying the entire Bill of Rights because they're saying that you have no rights whatsoever. Because all of these other rights are extensions of the rights granted to you by God, the rights that you're born with. The right to speak is an extension of the right to think, which is an extension of consciousness, which is a gift from God. The right to be safe in your person, safe from illegal search and seizure, for example, is an extension of the ownership of your body, which is an extension of the gift of life from God. If the Supreme Court says that you don't own your body, then they can say that they can send soldiers door to door to forcibly inject you against your will, because you have no right to say no since you don't own your body anyway. So that's what's at stake here. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's kind of, well, the biggest deal in terms of civil liberties. Gee, that doesn't sound political, does it? All right, we're going to get into some other fascinating things here today. But something I want to cover here first. One thing I'm noticing, and I'm kind of changing the subject here. One thing I'm noticing is that there's a lot of knowledge out there in people who understand what's about to happen, with the collapse of the global fiat currency. Knowledge into action in a consistent way. So their action is still lagging way behind their own knowledge. So there are people out there, probably not you listening to this, but there are people out there who say, yeah, we know that there's a financial collapse coming. And then you ask them, well, where's your money held? And they don't like all my gold hiding ideas. You don't want to put it in a giant bucket of bacon grease or whatever. People are like, what? That's the craziest thing ever. No, it's not. But people are like, it's just too inconvenient. And then I have to ask them, well, how inconvenient would it be if you lost everything in the bank? You know what they are? It's a collection of collapsed fiat currency from around the world. Yes, this is an interesting thing. I've also bought some kind of Hollywood fake US dollars. I think they're $100 bills that are used in movie sets and things. They're not real, but they look, close enough to real. And I'm going to do a video where I set those on fire. That's going to be fun. But here we have, I've got I've got 100,000 dinara here. It's got some kind of picture on it. Looks like, this is the Republic of Hrvatska, wherever that is. And it's got a picture of their leader on the back. Oh, big pictures of presidents. I've got something else. I've got 20,000, something that looks Russian or Ukrainian that I can't read. Yeah, that's interesting. And that's kind of a beige color. I got a 500,000 dinara. That's kind of golded colored of the, Pet Stotina Hijada Dinara, whatever that is. Okay. And then I got a $50,000 bill here, and it's got another picture of some guy. Narodna Banka Republike Sorbitsky, or whatever that is. Okay. These are all collapsed, by the way. Oh, look, here I got a $5 million. Woo! I'm a millionaire in the country of, what is this? Oh, Yugoslavia. Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Woo! Got 5 million Yugoslavian collapsed fiat dollars, whatever that. Oh, whoa. Dude. Hey, you're not going to believe this. I just discovered I'm a billionaire. I have a $5 billion. Oh, wish I could show you this. It's amazing. I've got $5 billion. It's called Special Agrocheki from the governor of the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. Yeah, or whatever that. Okay, I got $1 million there. And then I got 10,000 from this country. And the bills are really tiny green. 10,000. I got almost done here. This is amazing. I got 10 million. I got 10 million something from, I don't know, Russia or something. Oh, here's something from Germany. It's a like 10 million marks or something. Wow. It's a certificate from August of 1923. There you go, in the Weimar, Germany. So I didn't know that I'm a billionaire in Zimbabwean collapsed fiat currency. That's just amazing. And also Yugoslavian collapsed currency and collapsed German Weimar Republic currency, and so on and so forth. Why am I going through this exercise? Because, people, it's just paper. It's just colored paper. That's all it is pictures of presidents, dead presidents on them. There's nothing backing it. It's bunk. It's fantasy. It's illusion. It's all going to zero. It's all going, the dollars in your pocket are going to zero. And you know this cognitively, and yet you're still holding your deposits in dollars, aren't you? I know we kind of have some of the same problem, but we have to have a certain amount of operating capital in our company. But I've already resigned myself to the fact that we're going to lose that. It's going to be gone. Probably in 2022. So if all these other currencies of the world, and by the way, all these currencies, again, I wish I could show you, this is great. All the pictures of these dead leaders, and all these leaders made the same promise that Joe Biden is making. They all said the currency is fine. It's backed by the government. Nothing is going to happen that's bad. Your finances are stable. Yeah, you should hold on to your 5 billion Zimbabwean whatever. It's going to be fine. They all made the same promises. They all lied. All the currencies went to zero. How did that happen? It all happened the same way. Money printing. Oh, money printing. What's happening in the US right now? Money printing. Endless money printing. By the trillions. By the trillions. We're not talking a few million here and there. Trillions. The numbers might not show zero, but it's worth zero. And that day is coming. Now, when I was being interviewed by Brandon Howes a little bit ago, he showed me news clips of all the central banks around the world that are working on exchange systems for digital currencies. They want to make sure that the European Central Bank can exchange digital currency with the Bank of International Settlements, which can exchange digital currency with the Federal Reserve of the United States, and it can exchange with, Japanese Central Bank and so on. So all the central banks all over the world are working on a way to exchange digital currencies with each other, not cryptocurrencies. There's nothing in there about Bitcoin. This is about central bank digital wallets. They want to be able to clear the different currencies in the digital realm amongst these banks, including the IMF, by the way, another super corrupt organization, part of the globalist banking financial crime cartel. Why do you suppose all the central banks in the world are preparing an exchange system to handle digital wallets? Answer. This question kind of answers itself. Answer. Because they're going to roll out digital wallets, digital money. Why are they going to roll out digital money? Question mark. Answer. Because they're going to destroy paper money. Why are they going to destroy paper money? Question mark. Answer. Because that's their way out of the money printing madness that they've been running on for the last several generations. They have to crash the system before the system crashes out from underneath them. In order to do that, they have to crash the fiat currency. What other benefits would they derive from crashing the fiat currency? Oh, I don't know. The final looting of all the bank accounts of everybody? You will own nothing and be happy. Remember that? Sound familiar? How is it they're going to make sure people own nothing? Well, they're just going to crash the currency. They don't even have to hold you up at gunpoint. I think there's a Democrat just got carjacked in Chicago, I think. They held her up at gunpoint and took her car. Central banks don't have to do that. They don't have to carjack you. They already tricked you by getting you to believe in dollars. They will probably roll this out in the next couple of years. Probably well before 2025, I would imagine. So expect a major currency collapse. And of course, what do you do to survive that? Well, we've talked about it many times. Download my free audiobook. It's at globalreset.news. It's also on naturalnews.com. I was buying, I told you I bought 3 sewing machines recently because I didn't know which one was better. So I bought a Singer and a Brother and what's it called? A Janopi or something. It's a Japanese brand. It's supposed to be a really high quality machine. That was actually the highest price. A Jalopy? What is that thing? And then I realized that prepping for sewing is a rather convoluted, complicated thing. because you have to then go buy all kinds of different needles, different strengths and sizes of needles. And then you have to buy all kinds of different thread. And of course, if you go online to try to buy thread, it always has in all these different colors, like the rainbow of thread. Like I'm going to patch up a pair of jeans and I want like purple and red and neon green thread because I'm a member of LGBT, a parade or something. No, no, no. I don't need all those different colors of threads. I just need like black and white and beige and gray, and I think that's it. I mean, that covers the jeans, the canvas, the bags, anything that I need to sew. I think I can do it with about 4 colors. So you got to even strategically buy thread when you're prepping as a sewing prepper. What would that be called? Not like a prepping seamstress, because it's the as the male gender, would that be a seamster? Is like a mister, a seamstress mister. So that would be a seamster. So I'm a prepping seamster now. And then you also have to buy all these different feet, all kinds of different feet for the sewing machine. There's different feet for different things that one foot, apparently, I just learned this. There's a foot for straight stitches, and then there's other feet for different things like buttons. And then by the time you get all this done, you find out there's a whole different category of machines that you don't yet own called like serger machines that have like 4 or 5 spools. A sewing machine that you can use for multiple things like a backup generator. Or, of course, the obligatory solar paneled sewing machine, which is a sewing machine with a solar panel on top. And a wind-up hand-crank sewing machine, which actually my grandmother had one of those, but it was a foot-pumped sewing machine. I remember seeing that at her house when I was young. It's like, wow, this sucker, you really, you rock this thing with your foot down there and then it sews? I thought that was so old-fashioned. Now I think it's awesome. I think my grandmother was ahead of her time. It's like, being born in 1921, or I think that's about the time, that was actually, she was like way advanced compared to where we are now, because her stuff works when all of our stuff stops working. We're computing and running things in the cloud. You get locked out of our houses because the cloud stopped working, while my grandmother's just pumping along with her foot, knitting clothes and sewing jeans and fixing shoes and fixing zippers, just like, don't need no power grid. Grandma had that nailed. Go grandma. Tell you what, we should have listened more to our grandmas, because they know what's up. They went through, at least my grandmother, one of my grandmothers, lived through the Great Depression and had a lot of stories about it. The other one didn't talk about it much. It was not a nice thing to go through. Imagine the stories we're going to be telling our own grandkids one day, if we make it, if they make it. My phone was blowing up with so many comments. I guess I could read some of them, but I'm not going to go through that. Essentially, it was, "Oh, I've thought this for a long time, and I can't even stand to hear him talk without pulling my hair out because it makes me so furious," and things like that. Or some comments were kind of critical of me, saying, "Why did it take you so long to say this?" And I'm like, well, that's no different than, if he's blackmailed, then if he's blackmailed by pharma, then obviously we shouldn't support him for president because he's already blackmailed. You're making the argument to not support him. You don't want somebody who's already pre-compromised back in the White House. And you can tell from the fact that I support Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a Democrat, you can tell I'm not tied down to any party. Now, Steve Kirsch, very high IQ individual who I admire, he had a fascinating article on his website, which is stevekirsch.substack.com. Fascinating article. And the title is This is his title. Okay, comma, I admit I was wrong about the Democratic Party. And his subhead is, over the years, I've given, he says, 20 million to help Democrats win. That's a lot of money for, but tells you that Steve Kirsch is not, he's not financially poor. He's quite well off. Anyway, he says he's given that much money to help Democrats win, but they don't share any of my core values at all anymore. Is it time to jump ship or try to fix it? So I want to read this for you, the 8 points. Steve Kirsch, see, I think Steve and people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and people like myself and many others out there, that could be, maybe let's preempt the government injury. Okay, so then he writes that what Democrats today actually believe in is that, number one, the truth should be censored if it conflicts with the narrative. And he says, number two, it's not about science, it's about expert opinion from the authority that we are paid to trust. He's looking at other parties. He mentions the so-called Forward Party that Andrew Yang has created. The Forward Party, by the way, promotes universal basic income. So I would not support the Forward Party. I would support something like the Austrian Economics Small Government Party, something like that. Or something like the Leave Everybody the Hell Alone Party. How about that? The Second Amendment Party. Everybody should have a gun everywhere in the world. We should imagine if all the North Koreans had guns. They wouldn't be putting up with Kim Jong lunatic, would they? North Korea should have a Second Amendment. We should airdrop Glocks all over North Korea. And just watch the corruption be ended very quickly. That would be interesting. We could just stand in South Korea and build giant catapults and just start launching, AR-15 rifles or something. Yeah, I'm kidding. It's a metaphor. It's just to illustrate an idea. I'm not actually literally saying drop Glocks into North Korea. No, I prefer SIGs. But anyway, the point is we need a new political, dare we say, party. I don't even like the idea of a party. We need decentralization is what we need. And so the idea of a party is actually some other layer of centralized control. So really what I believe is not only do we not need the Democrat Party, and we also don't need the Republican Party because they're useless. We don't need parties, not political parties. What we need is decentralization of power, which means decentralized money, decentralized government, decentralized food, decentralized healthcare, total decentralization, make it all local. And I guess if the federal government, if it even exists, is to do anything, it's defend the border. Defend the shores, defend the border. And they can't even do that. Can't even build one wall. I mean, they can build metaphorical walls between the soldiers with these cultural attacks on people who are conservative. So really what I'm saying here, folks, is we don't need a Trump or any president. We don't need a Joe Biden. We don't even need a Ronald Reagan. We don't need one leader to tell us what to do. We need to lead ourselves. We need to be responsible for our own lives. We need to act as adults. And we need to get the government off our backs. And that's how society can actually function with a sense of fairness, justice, and liberty. Decentralization is the answer, and it's got to start with the money supply, which is why I am in support of the idea of cryptocurrencies and making the corrupt criminal central banks obsolete. It's just that it seems like the central banks have corrupted the crypto ecosystem with digital fiat currency stablecoin printing, by the way. This is just another attack by the central banks on something that they don't totally control. but I love the idea. So I hope that cryptocurrencies survive the big shakeout that's coming. I hope that cryptos survive the dollar collapse that's coming. And I would much rather in the future, well, in fact, I should say, I will not use the central bank digital wallet system, period, no matter what. I will be forced to use something else. I don't know what that something else is going to be. I don't know if I'm going to have to meet people in the parking lot and do like little secret covert crypto exchanges for sugar beets or whatever it is. Or if I'm going to become a broccoli seed smuggler. And like that's my side business. I'm going to sell seeds in the Walmart parking lot and risk being arrested for illegal off-grid transactions. For heirloom seeds. This is the one I was mentioning earlier. Tuesday night in the Chicago suburb of Broadview, she was traveling with her husband, 9:45 p.m. when three suspects driving a Dodge Durango demanded their Mercedes SUV at South 20th Avenue. And then Chief of Police Thomas Mills said the victim did hear what they believed to be gunfire. Okay. So this Democrat got carjacked, and never once did she think, what was her contribution to create this violent criminal society in which she herself is now a victim? Folks, the carjacking crime in Chicago is a result of Democrats being in power. And by the way, how can she afford a Mercedes SUV? I'm just curious. Is she making that much money as a state senator? I doubt it. A Mercedes SUV, that's not a low dollar vehicle. Does her husband make a lot of money? Are they making a lot of money together like Nancy Pelosi and her husband? Do they have some kind of, special insider trading knowledge of what's going to happen with Chicago area businesses and regulations and, property zoning decisions and so on? Is this how they're making enough money to drive around a Mercedes SUV? I'm just wondering. Because, gosh, I wouldn't be out of line to suppose that there is a corrupt Democrat in Chicago. Oh my gosh, the thought. No, that's never happened. Not in Chicago. Never been a corrupt Democrat in Chicago. Oh, no, wait a second. It's only that every mayor of Chicago in memory has gone to prison for corruption that I can think of, right? Isn't it just every mayor of Chicago just turns out to be a total corrupt criminal and actually gets prosecuted? And that's where Barack Obama did a lot of time there in Illinois as well, didn't he? Isn't he from Illinois? I mean, allegedly. Okay, so yeah, when the carjacking gets bad, maybe one day these Democrats will say, hey, maybe we shouldn't have defunded the police and let all the criminals go and done all these crazy, insane things that make society an unsafe place. And by the way, if you're driving around a Mercedes SUV in these areas, you probably should have a Glock with you. Can you carry Glocks in Chicago? I guess only if you're a criminal, right? I mean, can you legally carry Glocks in Chicago? I don't know. I'm not going there. I don't go anywhere that I can't legally carry a firearm. I would not be driving around at night in Chicago unarmed in a luxury SUV. Yeah, these are your policies. Oh, you mean you don't want other people taking your stuff? Oh, is that right? So why do you, as government, take other people's stuff and then redistribute it to yet other people? So if you don't like to be looted and hijacked and carjacked and stolen from, stop stealing from other people, you moron. Do unto others, girl, now, who don't even understand the culture of their own military. We have a military that can't even retreat in an organized fashion from the field of battle in Afghanistan without leaving behind tens of billions of dollars worth of functioning hardware for the enemy. It's beyond insane. I mean, the top generals of the Pentagon should all be court-martialed over that. There should be thousands of people court-martialed for that fiasco. Not to mention the whole Benghazi fiasco involving Hillary Clinton and so on. I mean, it's like today's woke-tard Pentagon military wants to fail. They want to fail. They want to be defeated. They want to surrender their equipment. They want to destroy America. They're supposed to defend America. They can't even do that. By the way, with the largest military budget in the world, by far, nothing comes even close to the U.S. military's budget. Did you know that? Not even close. I remember there was at one point where Trump agreed to give them an extra $750 billion because Trump, pro-military. So it's like, here, have an extra $750 billion. Somehow they blew through that and still couldn't have an organized retreat out of Afghanistan without getting their asses handed to them by the Taliban? Are you kidding me? Wow. Well, that's the reality of where we are, folks. Foul political positions. Okay. All right, let me wrap up by saying that I am going to release a Christmas comedy special here that is a compilation of all the craziest stuff I've said in the last year. And my editor has pulled out little snippets of examples of this. A lot of it is like voice impersonations and crazy little skits and things. And I don't know if this is going to be funny when you string them all together. It might just be a disaster. But I'm going to work on that actually after Christmas. I'll probably release it next week, before the new year for sure. But you're going to get a podcast that is it's all right. I want to thank you for listening today. And I want to wish you a Merry Christmas if I don't connect with you tomorrow, because you might be traveling, whatever, but I'm going to put out a little Christmas message tomorrow. In the meantime, God bless you. God bless America. Thank you for your prayers and thank you for your support. Talk with you maybe tomorrow. All right. Take care.